Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners. It's an agenda setting, 1 hour agenda setting this morning on Tuesday, October 26, 2021, it's 8:34 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is Commissioner Carolina Mejia. We have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, Clerk of the Board Amy Davis, and Public Information Director Megan Porter. We're doing a 1 hour agenda setting this morning to review next Tuesday afternoon's agenda because there is no board meeting this afternoon at 2 p.m. So hopefully an hour will be enough, and then when we complete, we'll have a break, a new YouTube segment where we'll get back into budget deliberations probably around 9:30. So with that, let's just jump right into item 1, which is reviewing next Tuesday's agenda. The meeting will be called to order at 2. Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Edwards. Look at the agenda and board meeting minutes from October 19th. Public will address the board, county manager update. Anything there, county manager, and all of that?
I will not be in the meetings. I will be taking 2 weeks off. I started this Friday, so the meeting of November 2nd and 9th, I will not be here, but Robin is here. Nothing that is pending for this coming meeting, but certainly will follow up if you receive testimony on the 2nd.
Okay. Okay, several consent items. It looks like it's 3A through 3I. 3A is Human Resources, Civil Service Resolution for Revised Classification Specifications.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. You had a conversation, a couple of briefings related to this item the last one being last week. And this is for you to consider adoption of the newly revised Financial Operations Assistant, Legal Assistant Supervisor, and Crime Analyst Classification Specifications. That's the first item for your consideration next week. These classifications have been revised to reflect the current job requirements and duties. And also associated with this particular action of you considering approving the new revised classifications, there is a revised salary schedule. The first one is for the Legal Assistant Supervisor. That salary will be going from, I'm just giving you the top end of the scale, $5,923 a month to $6,530 a month. That will be $607 or 10% increase. The next classification that will be revised salary is the Financial Operations Assistant. And that will go from $5,116 a month to $5,372 a month. There will be a $255 increase or 5% monthly. The third is the Crime Analyst, and the proposal is to go from $6,219 per month to $6,856 per month. That will be an increase of $637 or 10% increase. And also, as a result of these proposals, since they have a compression clause on their contract, the executive aide for the Sheriff's Office, since it's tied to the Legal Assistant Supervisor, will also be revised their salary from $6,515 a month to $5,364 a month to $7,183 a month to $6,000. That will be a total increase of $668 a month, for 10% increase. On the conversation that you had last week, the recommendation from the staff is to hold any salary increases to the legal assistant and the Bureau of Staff Assistants. They will be part of the larger class and compensation study the county is going to be embarking here in a couple of months. During your conversation, you asked, what will the cost be to increase their salary of the legal assistants of the Bureau of Staff Assistants, 5% or 10%? The overall cost of that, for you to consider having a 5% is $57,000 a year, or a 10%, that will be $114,000 a year. And again, the staff's recommendation at this point is to wait to have a more comprehensive analysis of the salary for the legal assistant, the bureau staff assistant, can be part of the class income study that we're about to embark here in the county. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. I thought the last conversations we had on that, HR said that they were recommending 10% to the one group. Is that right? There seems like there was about 5 groups on there. I don't have the paperwork in front of me.
Yeah, the way I described, sir, is I can repeat that again, is the legal assistant supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
Goes from $5,923 a month.
Well, what was the percentage?
10%.
Okay, 10%. And then the two.
The financial assistant, the financial operations assistant,
Okay.
that's a 5%. The crime analyst is a 10%. Those are the
And then there's 2 groups or 2 listings of 2. I don't know if there's 2 individuals or 2 classifications that they were saying, well, we want to hold.
yeah, as I stated, is the legal
till a
assistant.
later date.
As I stated, is the legal assistant and the bureau staff assistant classifications.
And I guess even on the 10%, it seemed like they started off on 2 of the classifications just a little below the average of their comparables, just like 1% or something.
So the process that we have in place, and it's not just for this particular effort, it's for across the county. I think what you're recalling is we need to be within the 5% of the comparables. And what you're recalling is perhaps out of the comparables, the high end was a little bit lower, was a little bit higher. But we are within the 5% comparables.
Well, that could be. I don't have my paperwork with me. I guess I'm gonna have to look into this to see where my position will be on it.
No, I'm not asking you to vote.
No, I know it's coming up.
Yeah, the agenda.
Okay.
Well, we'll get another review
Next Tuesday. And you asked what will be the budget impact to the legal assistant and the bureau assistant, staff assistant positions to consider 5% and the 10%. Those are the numbers that I give you.
Yeah, I do remember that. I just don't have my notes with me. Sorry. I'll look it up. We'll talk about it more, I think, as time goes on.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions in regards to this. Specifically for the 2 positions that didn't get, that basically we're gonna be setting aside to the, overall county market study. My frustration comes from the, I guess, part where, and if they would have all initially been offered this opportunity, I believe they all would have said yes, make us a part of the county study just because of the work it takes to go into a classification study with the county. It's a lot of work from both sides, and but they were never given that option, and so they went ahead, because they started way before we even started looking at it. So and so they've been doing all this work, and for me to say, oh, now we're gonna do these 2 positions, we're gonna have you wait even more, and from the county methodology classification that was adopted in 2020, from what I was able to read, it said that we would find comparables here in Thurston. And so I'm really not ready to move forward on this quite yet. So it wasn't I guess a question, it was more of a comment.
Okay.
I guess I want to follow up on Commissioner Mejia's. And I didn't bring my material in on this because I didn't think we were done with this proposal yet to the position that we would move forward on it through an official board action. I thought when we talked about this about a week ago, I think, some time frame back, that we were going to have more discussion on that issue that Commissioner Mejia brought up before we moved forward on this. So I'm not ready to move forward on this either at this point.
Yeah, I understand the issue. The proposal that I heard from Commissioner Edwards last time was, well, should we maybe just do a 5% placeholder on those two so that they're not kind of left behind? And I was interested in that. How much is it going to cost, and what is the, but that would make sense if we were pretty doggone sure that they're going up, by at least 5, if not 10%. My notes here say on at least one of those groups that the matches we do have were above. So I would hate to be, I guess I'm nervous about a situation where we don't want to cut somebody back. So I mean, the idea of doing a 5% bump, I think we're committing to doing that. I'm not going to take somebody back because that just seems jarring and not a good way to go about things. So if I was pretty 100% sure that everybody was going up because we're way behind, then I would be very amenable to that proposal. Or if the board's saying, well, we're just going to do it, even if it turns out that they're well above, we're going to keep the pay bump. Then if the board wants to do it that way, then I would think about it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'd like to find any solution that, obviously the sheriff's letter made it clear that this is causing a problem that is internal that, I can't see or understand. I have to just take the sheriff at face value. I don't want to cause any kind of unnecessary problems, but we should let the folks who got the work and we can see they're behind class get to where they need to go, and we've got a plan for the other two too. So I guess I can go either way, but I just wanted to lay that out because I don't think the board, Commissioner Edwards is going to keep arguing for that placeholder. It can't go backwards, and that would be totally unreasonable. So go ahead.
I guess hearing my seatmates and my remembrance of our discussion a week or so ago, I thought, and it sounds like everybody's in the same situation here, that we were going to have further discussions before we got to this point. And we've not had those further discussions that I'm aware of. So
related to that, my apologies if that was not clear. I believe we're going to be bringing this item for November 2nd, which is next week, for your consideration. And the discussion during that is that we're going to be bringing information as to what the 5% or 10% impact will be. And that's what I provided to you. Just because the staff is bringing an item for your consideration, you're not bound to have it. You can request to be removed until a later date. So please don't take me that I'm trying to put the board in a position for you to take an action. We're just providing a recommendation from the staff's point of view. Related to the comparables, it is outdated. And I don't disagree that the comparables that we have and how we approach comparables is outdated. That's one of the elements the consultant's going to help us to go through to assess what the right comparables will be. As I stated last Tuesday, in a salary revision, there is always that risk. They not necessarily will end up in being an increase in salaries. And as I stated also last week, the board absolutely has the right to adjust salaries to any positions in the county as you see fit. That's absolutely your responsibility, and that's absolutely within your purview. The staff is just providing recommendations. And the concern that I raised last week to you is providing us something outside of a process, considering that we're gonna have many classifications that needs to be revised next week. They'll come back with recommendations based on the market analysis. Within next year, there's gonna be many that perhaps may not be satisfied with the results. And then the precedent setting you might be setting is something you may need to consider. So that's all that's all the information that I'm providing to you. And
I guess to me, that doesn't solve the issue of further discussion that we were going to have. I don't think it's proper or that we end up with good decisions when we try to have a discussion in depth at the same day we're gonna maybe contemplate having a vote or moving it forward. I think we needed a discussion, and I was under the impression we were gonna get back together and discuss specifically those two items. And I don't recall that we did that. And so I think we're moving ahead without, at least without myself, and it sounds like without Commissioner Mejia being comfortable with that, we completed that task.
Commissioner, again, you can take this item out of the agenda.
Number one, I think that Ramiro, I think that it's laid out the way we left it. It was like, we wanted to know about flesh out your idea about how much is it gonna cost to give a 5% bump, and we got that information, and we've got another week. But number two, it's just a hard decision. I don't know what more discussion or information is gonna help me, frankly. It's like there's no perfect answer. Each decision we make has a negative side, and we can kick the can down the road just so we can think about it more if you're just not decided. I totally respect that if you want another week or two to think about it, but I don't know that another briefing session is gonna illuminate anything. It was laid out pretty clear to me. We don't have comps for 2 of the classes. We're dealing with 5 classes, 2 of them don't have adequate comps. Do we move forward on the other 3? Or do we just leave everybody where they are? Or do we just throw a placeholder out there as a, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say about it. It's just a hard decision.
Well,
May-
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Robin.
I'm just curious and asking for clarification. If we were to put a placeholder, what do you mean by that? A
Commissioner
placeholder?
Edwards' idea, let him explain it.
Okay,
Well, I don't know that, without having my notes here, I'm not exactly sure on the placeholder. I think my concern was that so much time had elapsed. In other words, we were basing that wage structure on quite old information. And I didn't think we ever came to a solution on what the right position was. I'll just use the 10% bump that we were gonna do. One of them, that brought that category of employee up to kind of the bottom threshold, if you will. I wanted to see what it would be. HR said they only did 5% increments. Well, I don't understand 5% increments necessarily. If a 2% would make a difference and put it, say, at mid-range. I hate to go through all that study and then still bring our employees just up to the very bottom of the threshold that now becomes normal. That's my concern. That has to do with my concern about retention and recruiting, that we should be in the market, so to speak. And I didn't feel that put us in the market. That was in those 2 positions. I made a kind of a last minute comment, I didn't get any discussion on it, and that was that, well, why can't we split the difference on the 5%, make it 2.5%, to get them in mid-range?
So
Well, we never had time to do any follow-up on that discussion. And the one that we did not feel we had enough information on, I don't think we ever solved at that discussion, because we broke, I think because of time. Were we gonna give them that 5% or not? And so when it comes to a placeholder, I don't exactly know if that's the right term to use. If that's the term that I used, I'm not sure that it's the right term to use. I wanted to address the sheriff's problems with those individuals that we were trying to address, and that's all about retention and recruitment. And it looked like retention had become a problem according to his letter. So I think anytime we can retain people rather than hire new people and try to retrain them and bring them up to speed, I don't think that's good management. So if we can retain people that are doing their job, I think that's a better way to do this.
I agree. I'm just trying to understand what you mean when you say placeholder, and what I'm perceiving now is what you're actually saying is to just give them the increase.
Well, I don't know that just giving them the increase is the solution. Is it 5%? Is that what it is? We really haven't had much discussion on that.
I called it a placeholder, and I thought what I heard Commissioner Edwards saying is like, well, if we think they're gonna get 5 to 10%, let's just bump it 5% now.
Just do it.
But then subject them to the study, and if it turns out that they actually deserve 10% more, then we'll bump it up again later.
Right. Whatever the study says is what we're going to ask you to fund. And as Romero said, that's going to be countywide and a big lift. And there's going to be, and these are my words, winners and losers. We're not gonna decrease anybody's pay, but if they don't need to go up, we're not going to suggest that you raise them up. And that's going to be in every office and department. But I was just trying, because usually when we say the word placeholder, I was trying to understand that, because usually what that means is to earmark some money so we can do something later given the facts.
No,
But
you
it
could just
sounds
bump them
like
5%.
just give them the 5%.
And that's what goes back to my original comment. If we were pretty confident that they were gonna at least get 5%, then I'd probably say, let's do
We're
that.
not. We're not confident at all.
But I don't know that we have that information.
Right.
Okay, I guess, Robin, you mentioned that this could have rippling effects countywide. Well, that's if you want to accept that, was it legal assistant? Is that what the term that we're referring to? It's my understanding that the job activities, maybe for a legal assistant in the prosecutor's office, for an example, is much different than a category in the sheriff's office that's called a legal assistant. And that's where I feel that we're rather unique in those few positions in the sheriff's office, rather than throughout the county in general.
Right.
So I don't think it's gonna have that same ripple effect maybe that you.
But even, if I may, even with your statement, is really puts, the staff in a different, because there's no comparables. Makes it difficult, and that's what HR staff went through this process and couldn't find comparables. And what you said is exactly correct. We have the same name on the classifications, but the functions are different.
Yes.
And that is the difficulty, because we couldn't find a comparable for those two classifications.
If there weren't any comparables from the start, then why drag them throughout this whole process and tell them that because I was like, I thought there was an email, and I was reading that email right now. The legal assistant they said HR told them that there was a comparable, with, they had found some outside the county, but then they had also the comparable they were gonna use for inside the county was the paralegal one. And then with the borough staff assistant, they were gonna, the comparable was the legal assistant supervisor. And so for me, the whole thing is they've kind of been dragged throughout this whole process, which is a lot of work. And then it's like, well, there's nothing now. You have to wait a couple more years until we do the overall county market study. I felt like as soon as they found out there weren't no comparables, if they were just told that, then I feel like it wouldn't be where they are now, where they're asking for this, because so I'm not sure what the communication was between these two, with HR and this group, but and I would like to know more information on that, because for me, it's like, why drag them through the whole process if we knew that there wasn't a comparable from the very start?
I will probably respectfully disagree with dragging through the process. And think in terms of, if we were to state to them, to these classifications, wait until the classification and common study comes, which is next year, it would have been on the same position as to why we wouldn't go through the comparables at that time as they requested. So it is a losing strategy for HR staff to let them know, wait at the beginning until the comm study is completed countywide. Then we would have been put in the position as to why we didn't go through, since they're a part of the civil service position. So we went through the process and unfortunately didn't materialize on actual comparables. But with all due respect, I don't think we dragged them through any process. I think we were responsive to go through a comparables based on what we have and couldn't find anything. So it is that balance that we need to go through. We could have told them at the beginning, wait until they come in class study is. At that time, it would have been a year. Would that be fair for them? No, probably not. And then we mark on that compensation study. It didn't materialize the way it is. But again, please rest assured, this is all staff recommendations to the board. Whether it's a 5%, 10%, 1%, 2%, that's within your purview.
I just, one quick comment is just that, but now we have 3 classifications who know that they're basically not entitled, but deserving of a pay bump, and to just hang those groups up because we're not that excited about how it worked for 2 other groups doesn't seem to solve any problem either. Go ahead, Robin.
I just want to clarify the 5%, 10%, and this is why 1% is not an option, or 2.5%. It's based on the way we have our range structures. So the step increases in our current pay classifications are 5% steps. And Marie is going to correct me if I'm wrong. I see her on the screen, but that's why we're suggesting 5%, 10%, and 2.5%. We'd have to totally restructure the pay. And I'm hoping Maria will pop in here to.
True, but also that's within the purview of the board. They can restructure the pay.
Could, but that is even a bigger lift.
No, Robin is correct in how our pay charts are structured. And so to do something different, 11% or 12% would throw everything off.
Right, they're structured in a way, they're gapped in a certain way, they're to do one at 2.5%, we'd have to restructure the whole thing. And that is part of the classification study, is to look at our compensation plans. Is that right, Maria?
That's correct. And the other thing I'd like to add is that pay is fluid. So next month, one of our comparables could, give a 10% COLA, and we could be behind, or they might not give any COLA and we could be ahead. And so it's always slightly a moving target. And that's why we give ourselves that 5% above or below market, and that's what we consider to be in market. And compensation is about competitiveness. And there's different philosophies. You know, we could have a philosophy that we always want to be ahead of everybody else, but there's always a cost to that. We certainly don't want to get behind. And so in the past, and this is a decision that this board could make, is to be in that sweet spot, in that middle spot. And I think by giving COLAs, we're able to maintain that. But market does change, right? And so some jobs become more competitive, and we have to address that. And so with the overall compensation and classification study, one of the things that we're asking for is to look at our current comparables. They currently include like Spokane and Yakima, and so there's a lot of debate about why is that, and is that still reasonable? And that's a good question. And so by bringing in a neutral third party, they can help guide us through that. Because what I'll add is that everyone's skeptical about HR. And so I think we can remove that skepticism by bringing somebody in to conduct a study. And I can also offer to do a briefing on just that methodology and how it works. So not necessarily talking about the mini class and comp study for the sheriff's admin, but the county's philosophy on setting salaries, who the comps are, how we make a match, what do we do when we don't find a match. There's a lot of behind the scenes that, unless you're familiar with it, it is difficult to interpret and can be interpreted very differently.
Commissioner Overtime's hand up.
Maybe just to follow up on something that was just said, that we don't know what's going to happen as our other comparables go into their labor negotiation situation. And if they get an increase, automatically then we're going to be on the low end of the scale again. And I don't think it's an if on any of our comparables. The way our inflation is going today, they're all going to get a major increase. We're in a situation that is not that good when it comes to the overall inflation over the next couple of years. It's not temporary. It's here, and it's going to be a big issue. So by starting off, we already recognize they're way below, maybe not these two positions because we haven't settled that yet. But the other positions were already low for quite a period of time, causing quite a problem when it comes to retention and recruitment. And we're saying, well, we'll give them 10%. And again, right off the bat, following up on what Maria said, if the comparables do the same thing, then we're going to be right back at the bottom. And I would rather, if we have to do the 5%, I'd rather bump it up 15%, for an example. So we weren't starting off at the bottom in the next couple of months. So I thought it was a more fair representation of the need to do, 12% or something like that put us mid-range. Sounds like that doesn't fit for whatever reason. I don't understand the 5% increment, but that's the way you've got it set up, and I don't want to buck that because I have no idea how that's functioning. But I think we're making a mistake. I think we're making a mistake if we only do the 10%, recognizing inflation is coming. And it's, you've been working on this as inflation continues to get worse. So I don't know how long you've been working on it, 3, 4 months, 6 months, to get to this point. But I think right off the bat, we're going to be coming in at the bottom of the scale again. And I don't know what to tell you about the 5%. And now all of a sudden, we're just going to say, well, you guys just wait. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't know that 10% covers it, to be honest with you. But I want to be in market, with the market value. And I'm going right back to doing business about retention rather than hiring new people and trying to train them. Because you just don't have as efficient of an operation if that's what you're up against all the time. So, I mean, I'd say give them 15% and 5% almost as a holder. If we find out they need more, I'd be in favor of that. So, if we're inclined to move forward on this right now. That's kind of my negotiating strategy, if you will, or my position, because I think we're coming out behind the 8 ball right off the bat. I don't think we addressed the problem in the last few years when we should have, for whatever reason. I'm not blaming anybody about anything, I'm just saying the facts are, we didn't address it in a timely fashion. And I know the county's working on this total package, which makes sense to me. So, but at a bare minimum, just give that, the one section of people 10% and the other 2, 5% until we get through this. I mean, it would satisfy me to some degree, but not walking away and giving them nothing.
The board like to keep this item for next week, or you like to take it off and continue the conversation?
We need to take it off and continue the conversation.
Great.
Okay, so we'll take it off, and please let me know what additional information you need to continue the conversation. So I will appreciate some direction as to what additional information you need, so HR is prepared to give you what you need.
I think we need some more time to talk about it, at least. I'm not saying we need a full briefing or anything, but we need to have it on at some point, so we have some opportunity to talk about it, rather than trying to squeeze it in here in something we're already, behind us. We're always late.
So I will bring
We
this
just
up.
spent 40 minutes on it. We just
Yeah.
squeezed it into 40 minutes, but yeah, whatever you suggest.
So I'll bring this item for November 2nd, next Tuesday, so you have as part of your continued conversation.
Yeah.
Without being part of the agenda.
Okay.
40 minutes.
Let's look at 3B.
Yeah, Commissioners, for your consideration, this is a recommendation for you to consider a pilot program and this is a suggestion from the Veterans Advisory Board. And I believe in the room we have the chair of the Veterans Advisory Board present. Also, we have Mark Muffet on the Zoom. In this pilot program, we'll identify one veteran each quarter that is underemployed or unemployed at a risk of losing their home. The program will support the veteran with rent, utilities, childcare, and up to 3 months. Well, we focus on helping with employment, household budgets, parenting benefits planning, and additional aid. That was in response as to what you would like to see in terms of enhancing the veterans programs that we have. So we have Mark Muffet available to further explain this particular pilot program and available for questions.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm glad that Mr. Bill Powell is in the audience there. He is our new chair. He took over, I believe, in June, and he's been a member of the board for the past 3 years. He wants to talk about it as well. But an overview of the pilot program, for the most part, the assistance program, veteran assistance program, has been reactionary. A veteran comes in with a bill that they can't pay, and we do our best to pay it. What this program does is to help unemployed or underemployed veterans obtain employment in our community that helps them be self-sufficient, provide for their family, have a satisfying job, and one that they don't have to keep coming back to the assistance program. It's investing time up front and quite a bit of money for that quarter. This is a pilot program. We're only looking at doing veteran a quarter right now. If it is successful, then we'd come back to the commissioners to extend the program next year. But the advisory board has been looking this over for the past 2 months, and they believe it's a viable solution for veterans in our community.
Did I hear you say 1 veteran per quarter?
Correct. We want to try it out, 1 veteran per quarter. We're going to use the majority of our current infrastructure to support this. So the veteran program specialist, she's going to do the case management in addition to her regular duties. And then we'll partner with a community agency for the employment specialist to help that person find the job that their ideal job, and to coach them on some maybe some things that they're missing, aspects of the job that they're missing. So they'll help them, coach them through that, as well as find them the job.
I guess my concern right off the bat is 1 quarter per veteran doesn't sound like it's adequate. And you're saying that the advisory committee said this is a good deal and this is the way to go?
Yes, Commissioner Edwards, it's a pilot program. We want to make sure that we do it deliberately and do it right. We don't want to jump in with both feet and it unravels on us. We want to make sure that we do it right for each veteran, and then we can learn from it. And then next year, if it is successful, then we open it up to a much broader audience.
I guess how are we going to select? So we're going to be, if there's several in need, we're going to try to pick one that is in most need, or how are we going to do that?
That's correct, Commissioner. So again, we work with veterans every day through the assistance program, and then the program specialist, Ashley, she can identify some that would work for this program, and then submit their application to the advisory board so that they can select it. All of the members of the advisory board can select who to move forward.
I have the same concerns as Commissioner Edwards at this time.
I have to say, I mean, if we're going to help veterans, I hate to just say we're going to help 1 in the next 4 months or something, or 3 months. I mean, I don't know that if we said 3, that would be that much better. But doggone 1, that just, we've got a new chair of our Veterans Committee. Is there any chance we can hear from the chair? He's here in the audience?
Yeah.
Okay, how about that? Let's do that.
Good morning, Commissioner. We decided to go with 1, so we decided to go with 1.
Could you come up to the table?
And please introduce yourself, sir.
Good morning, Commissioner. Yes, my name is William Powell. I am the new chairperson for the Thurston County Veteran Advisory Board. And we got with Mark. We decided to go with 1 veteran to start this program off each quarter so we can get the program working correctly. First, I thought we should do more than 1, at least 5. But if we put 5 veterans at a time, and this program is not, and we screw up, then everybody gonna say, well, you can't do the job right. So we decided we want to do 1 veteran at a time for the first quarter and try to get the program down. And next quarter, we can just keep adding on until time this year is up with, we can come back and we know we did right, what we did wrong, and we can add at least 3 or more veterans to each quarter if we have the funds. Because right now, Ashley is keeping a running tab of who are we helping, who need help. And that's the first thing I've been asking her every time. What about their finance? Are they getting finance class? Do they have a job? And so, right now, for a person to stay in Thurston County, you need at least to have 2 jobs. Because a 2-bedroom apartment is over $1,300. And making what we're making around here, you ain't gonna be able to afford it. So if we can get these veterans up and running with a better job, even if their spouses get a job, we can do better than what we've been doing. Because everyone is complaining that there's an overabundance of money the reason there's overabundance of money because the eligibility was changed saying twice, which we're trying to change that too. Because once they've been there twice, they don't come back because they can't come back. So we want to get this first client in the door and out the door and see if we can get them better jobs and get more money in their plates, on their plates.
So in the next quarter, we might be able to help a
The
couple more.
next quarter, we may be able
Two or
to
three.
add more and more to it. But rather than saying right now, we want to start with one person starting next quarter. And if the second quarter seems like we can do more than one, I will come back, me and the board will come back to Mark and say, hey, can we get with the commission and add more people? But right now, we want to be able to make sure that this veteran is only focused on getting a good job, don't have to worry about the rent, don't have to worry about the food or anything, but just going through all the training that we're gonna try to get Mark and WorkSource and all these other people to help with so they can get a better job they're doing, making more money. Because right now, there's a lot of people that's hurting out there, not just veterans, but there's a lot of people.
Sure.
If we can do this program on the veteran side, then let's say we can't switch it over and try to get WorkSource to try to do the same thing and someone else try to do the same thing with the same program, but not veteran, but they'll just be homeless people we're trying to get off the street.
Yeah. I can see merit to that. I mean, I have to say, I'm skeptical because I don't think it's enough, but.
I know one is not enough, but that's the best way to start. If we go in there with 5 and we just come out flat failed with 5 clients when we get go, first things one may say from the civilian is, you just wasted money. You didn't know what you're doing, you just wasted money. We want to get the ball going one step at a time.
Thank you, sir.
So, what is the pleasure of the board?
And I would be glad to come back anytime that y'all want me to come back to explain everything all through the year
All right, thank you.
about this program.
Commissioner Mejia, are you okay with this?
I would love for y'all's support.
I'm still stuck on that, just one. And what's the amount of funds that we're releasing for this, or what's the mark?
Yes.
That was a question.
Yes,
for Mark.
Commissioner. Yes, Commissioner, we are planning between 10, right, in front of you, it's just over $10,000 per quarter that we're looking at spending. It could be up to 15 depending on rent. There's a lot of different variables if there's daycare involved, things like that. But keep in mind, this is just one program. We continue helping veterans in other ways at the hub and through the assistance program. And there's another pilot program that we're wanting to initiate as well that Commissioner Menzer knows about from our chair, or not our chair, but one of our council members submitted to you in the past. We're still working on some of those points. So this is a concerted effort to help veterans. It may just be one program that's helping 4 this year, or maybe 10 next year, but it can grow, and we need to start somewhere with it.
I don't think it's enough either. I want to do more, but I'm going to go along with it. I think.
We are still gonna be doing everything else that we've been doing at the hub. Even with eviction moratorium, we've been helping veterans that been over the limit, but they need the help, so we've been helping them with their mortgage and stuff like that. And I've been looking around around to the grocery store, seeing about which one got vouchers that we can use, like in Clark County, if the veterans come there and family need food. So they're not buying alcohol and stuff like that, because Clark County use Winco down there, and that's the way they do it. They can go get a voucher to help them out with food, but as long as no alcohol involved.
Can I ask no, not for me, sorry.
Okay.
Just something that you said just came to mind. Did we ever follow up, by the way, kind of off topic, with the gentleman that came and testified, and what was the result of that?
Yeah, I provided a brief report to you in an email.
Well,
And we have been able to contact the veteran. We're in contact, we're in the process of providing services.
But didn't you say we've provided services in the past?
Yeah, we have provided services in the past.
Yeah, that's what the email said, that I read,
Yeah, so,
which I was a little confused by.
me too, but.
He had said he'd been denied every time.
Yeah, but, when he provided testimony, I don't know where he reached out to, what organization, so that was hard for me to understand. But he, in the past, and Mark, you can attest to the fact that we have helped that particular, I don't want to use the names, but that particular veteran who provided testimony in the past. And I know the phone number he left a couple of weeks ago was not working. It did work, and you did get in touch with him. And as well as you also are in touch with his mother to continue to explore how we can continue to provide services. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was the one that personally helped him in 2018, and then we had helped him prior to that, and also through a different program that our Veterans Case Management. So yes, we have. I spoke to him personally, and there was some confusion on who we were and what services that we offered. So I don't think there was any ill intent. He just didn't know. I think he's reached out to a lot of different agencies.
Okay, well, let's get back to, we need to figure out what's going on with this item.
Yeah, you
I'm
continue.
supportive of keeping it on the agenda, commissioners.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so thank you so much for being
yeah,
here.
thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you. And thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, thanks for your 3 years on the committee. Thank you for taking over.
Appreciate it. Let's go to 3C, the sheriff. Interlocal agreement for inmate housing. I saw under Sheriff Brady, he's still up there. Go
Commissioner,
ahead, Captain Ramiro.
for your consideration, this is a renewal of the contract that we have with Lewis County. As you know, we contract with Lewis County Sheriff's Office to have overflow jail cells in case we need it. This particular contract, I think is a renewal that goes from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. And the daily bed rate is $75 per inmate. And again, this is just an assurance that we have capacity in case we overflow the county jail. And Sheriff Brady is here. Do you have any questions?
So I'm confused, is it for them to house here or for us to house there?
For us to house there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under Sheriff, I'm assuming this is just kind of a safety net, so to speak, or, I mean, I don't think, my understanding is we haven't used this contract in a little bit of time. Is that right, or can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, that's correct. With COVID and some of the restrictions, we have not utilized this service that we have with Lewis County, but it's certainly always the possibility, even as we've talked before, even with our population low, based on the inmates that we're currently housing, we are at or above capacity at certain times. So renewing this contract just allows us to keep that contract in place and that working relationship with our partners in Lewis County should the need arise.
We only pay if we use it. We don't,
Yeah.
we're not paying anything up front or, okay.
That's correct. There's a slight increase in the contract this year from $75 to $77.25, but that's per day per inmate. So if we don't have anyone there, we don't pay.
Commissioner Edwards?
No questions.
Okay, I think, good, Commissioner Mejia?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Sounds good.
Mr. Sheriff?
We've got two tax title, D and E, and I saw the county treasurer, there he is, Jeff Gavin, good morning. What do we need to know about these two, Jeff?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Ramiro, set it up for us.
thank you, Commissioner. This particular, these two tax title properties in both is where they have not received any bidders as a result of tax foreclosure. And as a result, the county treasurer office can exercise individual negotiations with property owners. In this case, this is a property located in the Boston Harbor area. The size of this property is 0.5 0.07 acres. And that is considered to be unbuildable because of the size. And this particular negotiation is with the nearby property owner that would like to purchase to expand and their property. So the total transaction at this point is, for your consideration, for the fees is $4,163.50. And I have attached in your packet a map and information related to the parcels, so you should have that on. You should have it on your packet.
Got it.
All I got is an agenda and
Yeah, oh, here it is.
I got it.
I placed the.
Is it not on?
It's attached to my agenda here and then back up.
How about that? Let me give you that.
mine just didn't have that.
Do you want mine, make a copy of
No,
it?
I got it. Here you go, sir. That's property number 1. And property number 2 is located just on the same terms. And this property, second property, has been on the exempt status since 1958.
How, since when?
Since 1958, the second item.
58?
1958.
58? Okay. I'm just, way back, okay.
Yeah, so actually, it's not used, some of it has been in tax title since the early 1900s. So this parcel, the second is 0.11 acres. And the proposed sale price is $863.50. And Jeff is here to answer any questions for the 2 items.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, for your time this morning, and thank you, Romero, for once again so eloquently kicking this off. The first property, which is out in the Boston Harbor area, what makes this one not practical to build on is when the county built the sewer system out there, they never intended to build the sewer system to have capacity for every property out there. And so every property owner got the opportunity to either opt into the sewer or not. And this particular property is one where the property owner at the time opted to not connect up to the sewer. So until the county spends however many millions of dollars to expand the sewer system out there, this property will never be approved for any kind of a residence. And it is being acquired by an adjacent property owner. He does have a residence there with quite a large property. And he's trying to get the 3 smaller ones to add to his yard. The second property is in Rochester, and it is not practical to build on because it is too small to be able to put a residence on and a septic and a well. But what the person who wants to buy this, she is trying to buy several small properties. She's talking to other neighboring property owners to try and get a piece large enough that she can develop it. Thank you.
Thanks for digging into these.
You're welcome.
Next is 3F, appointment to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee.
Yeah, for your consideration, Commissioners, is for you to appoint Annette Pitts to the Lodging Advisory Committee as a potential plan applicant member. And her term is going to be from November 1st, 2021 through November 1st, 2024. And Annette Pitts is the Executive Director of the BCB, and she's replacing Shauna Stewart's position in this board.
Questions?
I don't believe so.
Okay, items G, H, and I are voucher lists. Questions from the board regarding those?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go to item 4A, bid award for Building 4 Resource Room, project number 25615.
Yeah, I briefly provided an update last week. I believe that we have encountered a little bit delay on the tenant improvements in Building 4 for the resource hub. So this item is for you to consider awarding the contracts to a direct contractor to do the necessary tenant improvements on building 4, the resource hub. And on October 11, 2021, we received 7 bids. And the apparent low bidder is, I'm going to butcher the name, Adroit Contractors Incorporated of Olympia, Washington. And the amount was $79,993.61. As soon as you consider approving this particular award, then we'll start working on the tenant improvements on the resource hub.
Is this over in Lacey?
No, it's building 4, right here.
And that's under the estimate of, like, 100,000, I think was our
Yes, sir.
estimate, so that's a big thing.
How many bids did we have, do you know?
We received 7.
6 or 7? Okay.
No, it's 7, I'm sorry, it's
Okay.
October 11.
All right, Commissioner Yu.
And what funds is this being covered with then?
This comes from building reserves. No, REGO. We have a REGO.
I would say that the entire project cost is 100,000. This is just the contract to do the work, so we've already spent a little design money, there's a little bit of furniture. So just saying, it's not like there's the 21,000 left.
I understand. I just was, since we keep talking about construction costs escalating and that 100,000 came from before the supply chain issues, I'm pleased to see that this does not escalating beyond what I.
Thank you.
Let's go to 5A, contract for fiscal year 21 Homeland Security Grant.
I apologize for interrupting, but I'm just looking at the time and not to push or jam you in any way. But could we just say that the budget session is probably going to start at 10?
I think we could say that.
Okay, good. Then I will let staff know.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
We'll
you.
shoot for
Thank
that,
you, Robert.
commissioners.
The next item for your consideration is to receive a home security grant for the amount of $350,545. And the performance of this grant is for September 1st, 2021 through October 31st, 2023. Thurston County Emergency Management is the coordinating agency for the Homeland Security region, which includes counties, cities, and tribes within Grace Harbor, Lewis, Mason, Pacific, and Thurston counties. And this particular grant will allow us to continue to have this coordination and emergency preparedness among all of the counties. Clerk Harding is here to answer any questions related to this particular grant. And again, this is a yearly allocation the grant is provided to the county.
No questions.
My only question would be, are we limiting the ability to get some more money in by placing the 10%? I know that's kind of boilerplate language, but sometimes others don't use their money, and I'd like to get that money if I could.
We'll certainly take advantage of that. The 10% seems to be an adequate, based on our procurement policy that we have.
Okay, so it's $350 coming in, right?
Right.
Okay. That's it, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Commissioners.
6A, memorandum of understanding with City of Olympia for Ensign Road.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I gave you a draft of the MOU that I'm planning to coordinate with the City of Olympia. And this is related to the phase 2 approach on trying to resolve the issues, RV issues on Ensign Road. This particular MOU is with the City of Olympia. It will have a 2-step approach. Phase 1 is to house between 15 RVs on the Carpenter site the county owns. We have a public information meeting on November 4th. And we have advertised that. And also with this MOU includes the phase 2, which is going to be partnered with the City of Olympia to purchase a property within the city limits to have a more permanent location for those RVs. With this item, I will ask for you to authorize the county manager to sign this MOU.
Is it the same, the draft that we were
Yes,
showing
it's
before?
the same. We just finalized the little details, but in context, it's the same. It's the same terms and conditions that you saw 2 weeks ago.
So I met with, I do a monthly meeting with Providence and business owners. And I had it last Friday
And the conversation revolved around this, and around the enforcement of parking that follows, and I let them know that this was part of the MOU that we were interested in. And, you know, the rest is really up to the city of Olympia, how they follow through, but I told them that was a strong desire from all of us, right, that area be enforced. And they were very supportive of it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Who did you meet with, Commissioner?
It's the Providence and all the business owners currently affected on Ensign Road. So it's all the medical offices around that area.
Could I follow up on that, sir?
Yeah.
I guess my concern is that the city of Olympia has not taken any type of enforcement action on existing parking since we've talked about it. They've not demonstrated that they're willing to do anything. And that's why I can't give them a blank check and support something like this, because I don't think their heart's in the right spot. I think they're just taking advantage of the county. There's no indication that they're moving forward on trying to address our concerns as expressed by Commissioner Media. So that's my concern.
You have been consistent on that concern,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner. I appreciate that. And one is also, at least from the staff point of view, is a concern. In order for this to be successful, they need to follow up with a parking enforcement. And the MOU is specific on that, and they will sign under those terms and conditions. And whether they deviate from that later on, I cannot attest to that. I cannot attest to that point. But the intent is really to hopefully put in on a document roles and responsibilities that includes active parking enforcement after the fact.
Well, I want to follow up on that and just say that for the last few weeks, I've brought up this issue of this new homeless camp starting out here on 101. They haven't done a darn thing about that. I don't think they're sincere about doing anything. They continue to allow people just to do whatever they want without any consequences. And but there's no way I'm going to support this whole process moving forward. That's up to my seatmates. I know the democratic process is in play here, and I respect their position on it. But I think if Olympia was looking to show that they had any intention of abiding by that memorandum, they certainly would have started doing something by now, which I've not seen one little bit of movement in that direction. That's my position.
I'll just say that the Ensign Road is within the city of Olympia, but the hospital access affects our constituents all across the county. We as commissioners can only do what we can do, and I feel that it's my responsibility to take whatever steps I have in order to try to solve that problem for the constituents of the entire county with respect to access to emergency access, emergency vehicles. Frustration with the city of Olympia coloring your position is not, I think, responsible policy toward your constituents across all of the county who may be affected by when them or a loved one can't get to the hospital quickly enough or to emergency services. So we can only operate we can only operate with the powers and levers that we have because this is within the jurisdiction, but this is an approach that will give us some kind of leverage and some kind of movement to see if we can solve a problem for our residents. So that's why I'm not 100% certain it's going to work, but this is why I'm supportive of trying this approach so that we can try to move forward. And
Yeah, I mean, the necessity is there. The business owners are very frustrated. And I feel like we have to do what we can. I agree with Commissioner Metzer. I think we have to do what we can to be able to respond to our constituents as well. for me, you know, it's really, it comes down to saving lives. I mean, that extra reroute it takes, you know, can sometimes be the defining factor. And so, you know, that's really important to me, and making sure that there's access to the hospital and, so.
Sir, as a follow-up to that, I'd just say that I really feel that if this is a health issue for our citizens throughout Thurston County that may be delayed proper medical service, I don't see why as the Board of Health, we don't get together and have this as a topic and go in there with a Board of Health order and clear that street completely out and say, we're not going to allow any parking that blocks access of our emergency equipment to get people in and out of that hospital. So I think we could take an exceptional step as the Board of Health, because we have authority throughout the county as the Board of Health. And I would like to see that be on our agenda.
If you'll work together with us on where those RVs will be placed, then that's something, a conversation I'm willing to have.
Well, I'm
But I only hear it clear, but then somehow they're just gonna magically.
I'd take them all to the junkyard if it was up to me. I have not a lot of sympathy for them blocking that road. I think we ought to go in there and give them all a letter from the Board of Health saying, we're taking this as a serious issue on X date. Your vehicles are gonna be removed. I don't care where we remove them, to a junkyard. I don't care. That will give them some incentive to get their situation changed, whatever that is. And I'm done Mickey Mousing around with these folks if it was up to me. Now, I'm gonna respect my seatmate's position on whatever we do, but I've had it. I've talked to all these citizens myself. They are frustrated beyond belief. I know the whole move out to Carpenter Road, those people think that a public information meeting is a joke. They're not gonna have their voices really heard. They're gonna get more information about the government screwing up their neighborhood. That's what they're gonna get. They're not gonna be able to have anybody say, well, I don't want it there for this or that, or for my safety, or for my business, or my kids' safety. We gotta do something about we gotta quit enabling these people from coming all over the United States. They come here. We've got about 30 bodies right now. I don't have the exact number. I talked to Gary Warnick the other day. We got 30 bodies in the morgue, unclaimed bodies. They're all from elsewhere. Nobody's willing to even claim these folks because they're from everywhere else. They come here and we end up dealing with it. I believe that we could have compassion and fix this situation for any of our local residents that are falling on hard times for whatever reason, financially, mental, drug addiction, whatever it is. But we cannot take care of these people from all around the United States. And the word's out. There's actually been a poster in Atlanta that I received a picture of. Go to Olympia, they take care of you. So, I mean, I've kind of had it. I know this is a bit extreme, but.
Well, just circling back, I mean, I don't think the state of the law allows us to take the RVs and put them in the junkyard. I don't think that.
Well, I don't know. Nobody's tried to approach this from a public health standpoint. Let's get our legal people to take a look at it and see which public health issue supersedes, maybe to give us that authority to do something like that. And if we let them know we mean business, I think the most of them will find a different place to go. Now, is that solving the problem? No, it's not. It's dispersing the problem throughout the community, but at least it solves that immediate problem from a medical perspective, from a Department of Health perspective of getting medical attention to our citizens. And then we can work on the rest of the enabling and everything else as time goes on. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm ready to put it on the agenda and vote on an emergency meeting, if we could get legal to give us some advice.
That was gonna be my question, can we do that as a
Well,
BOH?
And I think it's, you know, I mean, we can embark on a legal review and elaborating what Commissioner Menson stated was a federal case that was tried in Boise, and which put really all the jurisdictions in a different situation, because you cannot just evict individuals that are houseless without giving an opportunity for an option. So, and that applies to the difficulties that we have been pursuing since that particular lawsuit. And it's a federal law, as I understand. So, and this is the approach that we're trying to take, is move those individuals to give them that option. So the action of just going there and clear, my words, without giving an option, I don't think is viable for what I understand in terms of the federal law. So, and this is, you know, it has been difficult. It is absolutely difficult since that has been put in place. But those are the conditions that we are dealing with. My obligation as a staff, you know, as I stated before, yeah, I'm not in the position to look back and start addressing and getting to the point as to how we got to this point. My obligation as a staff, I believe, to bring a proposal to resolve an issue the regional hospital is facing at this point. And we have had many conversations in many different mediums among many different elected officials. The issues of the delay of 3-4 minutes of emergency vehicles reaching the emergency room. We continue to have these conversations. We continue to raise those issues as a big deal to our community. And yet we have not been able to try to resolve this issue. This is a humble proposal. There's a lot of risk associated with this. And I'm not here to sell you a bag of goods that's gonna be successful. But I feel as a staff that I need to bring a proposal to the board to do something. And this is the something that I'm proposing.
Just in conclusion on that, I do think there's things we can do to meet the requirements of that Boise litigation. And we own property up by the current corrections facility. And we could haul them all up there and drop them off and say, you know, we don't have to smash them. We can just haul them up there if they don't run, and give them a place to stay right there until we get it figured out. But Ensign Road certainly seems to be impeding our ability to provide adequate health services to our citizens. So that's why I say use the Board of Health as the legal mechanism to do that.
I think we're gonna move on from this item unless there's anything needs to be decided today. We'll have this for, again, extra review next Tuesday morning. 6B is developmental disabilities community grant contracts.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. This is a follow-up to the August 31st, 2021, where the Board of County Commissioners approved the release of the development disabilities request for proposals. This relates to issuance contracts of the millage fund. The millage fund is part of the property tax under RCW 71.2010. And this particular effort is a coordination with Mason and Thurston counties. Mason County, out of their millage fund, is putting into this program $200,000. And Thurston County, as part of the millage funding, contributes $600,000 to the overall program. So this particular proposal before you is to award a contract to specific organizations. It will help us carry the services to disabilities and developmental disabilities members of our community. Annalise is here to answer any particular questions related to this proposal.
One thing, you have a typo in here on 200,000 in the middle. I assume that needs an extra zero.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Questions for Annalise?
No, sir.
No, thank you. Good to go. Item 6C, waiver of competitive solicitation and contract for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yeah, for your consideration, Commissioners, is to award the contract for the Big Brothers Big Sisters for $15,000 from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. And this is to continue to provide services to the Tumwater School District related to support the youth and substance use prevention in Thurston County. Chris Hawkins is here to elaborate on this item. I'm trying to rush this.
Chris,
I'm not trying to rush it.
I know you are.
Move forward, so you will have the
Because
opportunity.
we should probably discuss the budget at 10:30.
Since you will be reviewing this item next week
I think
again.
we're gonna have, I think we can get this done quickly. Chris, anything we need to know about item 6C beyond what Ramiro said?
Good morning, Commissioners. Ramiro introduced as well. This is a continuation of a contract with Big Brothers Big Sisters to offer mentoring services that they are uniquely qualified to offer. It's a program that they developed. And so that's why we're asking for the waiver from competitive solicitation for this. They have an added task this year in the contract of facilitating a youth coalition development in Tumwater. So these are things that Big Brothers Big Sisters is uniquely qualified to do, and they are who we've contracted with the past couple of years through this same waiver.
No questions.
No? Okay, thank you, Chris. Stay on
Thank
board for 6D, tobacco and vaping prevention regional contracts.
Yeah, this, and again, a continuation of the contract we will have with College, Lewis, Mason, Pacific, and Waukegan counties. And this is from July 1st, 2021 to June 30, 2022. And Thurston County serves as the lead agency on the Cascade Pacific Alliance County Community of Health. And we provide the service in coordination with all the counties as just mentioned. And this is specifically to provide tobacco prevention in youth. And Chris is also here to add additional perspective, answer any questions.
Questions for Chris on these?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, I remember this from last time around. Let's look at 7A.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Chris. Public Works Resolution and call for sealed bids for Pacific Avenue Safety Mid-Block Crossing Project.
For your consideration, Commissioners, is to authorize the Department of Public Works to go out for bids to secure the services of a contractor to provide improvements on Pacific Avenue. And that will be located between the basic city limits and Union Mills Road. This particular project will provide safety improvements by providing mid-block crossings along this particular segment of Pacific Avenue. And the estimated cost of this is about $808,000. We have received a federal grant of about $745,000, and we do have a required match of $62,000, which comes from the general fund. If the board authorizes go to bids, the next step will be for the department to come back and for you to consider awarding the contract to the low bidder.
I have one quick question.
The road fund.
Oh, you said general fund.
You say general fund, well,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking
Okay,
general
that was
fund.
my only
There's
question.
no county conversation.
I'm good.
Or county road fund, sorry.
Okay, then that's good there, Keaton, thank you. Got our 3 standing items. There'll be 2 public hearings, both public works related. One about updates to the water and sewer construction material standards, and a second regarding updates to the water and sewer utility codes. Any questions from commissioners about what's going to happen there?
No, sir.
Okay, then we are done with the agenda setting. We'll have to switch to another Zoom. It'll take 5 minutes.
There's more.
Oh, no, we have another item, sorry. That's, Robin, why you were saying 10:30.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get to this item. Item 2, contract for COVID-19 testing.
Let me describe the item, and then I'll give you additional perspective related to this item. This particular item for your consideration is to waive the bidding requirements as part of the emergency resolutions to award a contract to remote medical testing to provide weekly testing to county employees. That has been at the negotiations that we have gone through with the different unions. This particular amount is $600,000 up to, and for 1-year contract performance. And we are not, my hope is that we will not be here in a year doing this, but if you give us that option, we'll come back later on On the initial agenda that I provided to you on Friday, had $150,000. I was thinking in a certain period of time, a small time period of performance, but having the conversations on the contract, giving us the year, and also by you authorizing the $600,000, we're not going to be given those $600,000. It will be based on performance. We are right now we're contemplating having 3-4 sites every week. One here at the courthouse, maybe 2 days a week at the courthouse. Also, we have maybe half a day at Tilly campus, and also we're going to be having locations maybe at the corrections facility and maybe at the sheriff's dispatch in Tumwater. So we're still gelling the ideas to the locations, but it will be just about 4 locations every week. And the way we have a structure, the county will pay 50% of the rapid testing, and employees will pay the remaining 50% of the testing. And that is in concert with the bargaining negotiations that we had. So
Has that been settled?
we'll continue to negotiate with the sheriff deputies as the corrections, but all the rest of the units have been settled, agreed upon. And this is the result of it.
Okay.
Questions?
I was just wondering how many employees would this cover?
Good question. We have made an estimate of just about 215, 250 employees that might be choosing this option. We'll have a much better number when we are implementing the vaccination documentation. And we already purchased a software. The employees will start uploading the vaccination cards in this software, and they will have a much better number as to how the number of employees who are choosing the testing. But at this point, it's about 250.
Why is it that we're waiving the bid? What's the purpose of, and I thought it was 150,000, but it could be up to 600,000, is that what I'm hearing?
And for 1 year performance. So the 150 that I provided in the draft agenda, it was a shorter period of time.
Okay, well, why is it that we're waiving, why is it we were attempting to waive this bidding process? I thought, with that kind of money, what's the deal?
So 2 things. This is related to the COVID emergency.
Okay.
We went through and we went shopping, honestly, and there is not a vendor that we can do. So we did our due diligence to find what would be the vendor that would probably give us this particular services. And we landed this particular offer to provide those services. And waiving is a matter of timing. We, as part of the resolution 16078, that's emergency resolution, and your resolution of 16067, which requires vaccination and also testing option, that takes effect next week. So, and that is the sense of urgency of waiving the bidding requirements.
And I guess, is legal here that can tell us on the record that waiving is okay, or that we're not gonna get in the jam by moving to waive? I mean, I don't know, this is probably more to protect my seatmates than myself, because I'm probably gonna be pretty consistent on this thing.
So the board has waived bidding requirements, that's within your purview in the past, and this is not outside of that request, no.
Well,
We don't have an attorney in the room, but many of the purchases we've made under the emergency order, this is the language that we have used each time.
and then what about the information that Mr. Pettit brought forward, that this has to take place in a...
I'm gonna address that, and that was gonna be my next step. Before you have any more questions on the proposal. And by the way, and this will be utilizing ARPA funds, and that is the intent. And again, this is not going to be a contract to just, we're gonna issue the check, it's gonna be based on performance. So, and that will grow us.
And the contract also has a the ability for either party to cancel at any time due to convenience, so it's not a cancel for cause. If anything should change, we will be able to cancel this contract for a shorter period. If we need people less than 4 days to do the testing, we can cut back on that. If we don't have 250 employees, we won't pay for so many tests. I will add though that we have to pay the vendor the full price of the tests, and then we have to recoup the money from our employees who will pay out. So that's part of this setup. And they will be ready on site next Monday.
So if there's no questions related to this item, and related to Mr. Pettit raised an objection yesterday, stating that perhaps you do not have the ability to take an action on this in this setting. I disagree, because the board has taken actions in agenda settings many times, and that goes back an older argument, but I'm not here to argue that. But I have done my due diligence, as I always do, to raise this issue with the prosecuting attorneys, deputy prosecuting attorneys. And I raised that concern, that objection to the deputy prosecuting attorney, and unfortunately, she was not able to provide you that perspective before this meeting. So here we are. I'm asking you for you not to take an action. At this point, I have already scheduled a meeting for 11:30 this Thursday after your budget hearing, budget deliberations. And at that point, this item will be back on your agenda for consideration. And at that point, the deputy prosecuting attorney will have the opportunity to provide that perspective based on what Mr. Pettit's objections that he submitted late yesterday.
Okay,
So we're just not gonna do anything on it right now, right?
nope,
Okay.
okay, let's go.
So
Take 10 minutes and-
to make this motion now.
Thursday.
I didn't hear that.
I have a meeting on Thursday, scheduled for Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
So this agenda setting work session is adjourned. We will reconvene at 10:15 to pick up budget.